Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and once again, I am making another Death in the Party video. Uh, last session, Mara Brightwood, the Azamar fighter, who, that's actually my wife's character, lost its life with a fight against a dragon. So, the way it worked out is we were exploring in a couple of tunnels, and we noticed a couple of these tunnels are very large. We did some spelunking, we did some sliding, we did some falling, and we end up in this large chamber at the bottom of a very wide tunnel. We explore around, we see a giant egg. I'm like, okay, I think we know where the dragon in this particular area is living. I think we're in its lair. Yep, and then it showed up right behind us and right on top of us. So we had a couple of turns in which we tried to parlay, could have ran. The parlay failed, and we end up in the fight. And an NPC who'd been trailing us and wanting to take a valuable item from us showed up and said they would help us in this fight if we give up the item afterwards. We said yes, we'll take the help. The battle commenced. We did okay. We ended up with only the one casualty. We defeated the dragon, and the NPC took off with the item that they wanted, which luckily we were done with. One thing that just stands out is that in 5th edition, the really big, important monsters tend, like dragons and liches and such things, the really top-end stuff, tend to have lair actions, legendary resistances, legendary actions, and those are a pretty cool mechanic. I like that mechanic. If I were to go play some 1st and 2nd edition again, I might drag that with me back into those games. So, if you don't know the 5th edition mechanics, which pretty much everybody does, but let's go over it. Lair actions. So, a bad monster should be more dangerous when it has the home field advantage. So what this happens mechanically is that on a certain initiative, 20s in this case, a terrain effect or something that's thematically appropriate to like a video game boss fight happens. If you're fighting a red dragon, you might have pools of bubbling lava, and one of those pools spurts out some lava at a random person. Or the walls shake and a couple of rocks come down. Things that make the fight really interesting and themed to that particular monster, so that you're kind of seeing that the lair and the monster are kind of together. And this is not just it wandered into a random room that you happen to be in. I like that idea. I think it works. Legendary resistances, I kind of wish I'd had that mechanic in play when I was DMing like 1st and 2nd edition games, where the party's magic user might be able to shut down your monster with a single spell if your monster rolls like a 1 or a 2 on a saving throw against that one clutch spell, rendering the battle pretty much over. You just say, okay, the monster has 3 legendary resistance points where they can take a failed save and say, nope, I'm not going to fail my save quite yet. So you have to keep pounding on that monster. The battle has to last a little longer. You can't just walk in and shut it down. But you only get 3 of them. That's kind of a cool little mechanic. It's not just forever shutting down all magic users. It's just delaying the inevitable. And you as a DM, if you're using that mechanic, you don't necessarily have to use those. You can say, okay, I'm going to choose to take full damage against this, save for half type spell because I might need it later. It gives you, but it does give you that resource. And the other is legendary actions. So when there's like 6 or 7 characters in a party, your monster goes once, and then it's done, and then just spends the rest of the round getting beat on. Well, with legendary actions, you get a few points to play with, and when somebody hits you, your monster, the monster can react. So they may get their main attack, but then, other things are going on. Like with the dragon, it goes for its claw bite, or it goes for its breath weapon, and then a little later after it's being hit, a wing buffet, or, a tail swipe. And this isn't just a monster getting like 7 attacks all at once. It's spread out through the round so that you're going back and forth between the party and the monsters during the combat. And with that wing buffet, that was one of the things that took a character down. I appreciate that part of 5e mechanics for the monsters. But that's just me. I would recommend, if you have access to the 5e Monster Manual and you haven't looked at it yet, that you should look at the stat blocks for, say, a Lich or a Dragon and see what the adult and larger dragons can do and see how that spices up combat just a little bit, having those extra things. Anyway, status on Mara Brightwood, they are deceased. We have the body. We have not divided up their gear. The intention is, hopefully, we can take them back to town and do Raise Dead and get her back up. We're not sure if we're going to have time to do that, because Raise Dead, you have to do it within a few days. You only have a certain window. And beyond that, you have to look at spells like Resurrection. But we're also kind of at the front end of this, and I don't want to give any spoilers. We're at the front end of a dungeon, which we need to deal with. So we might, we're kind of looking at this. We could head back to town right now and leave this dungeon that we just freshly cracked open the entrance to potentially have somebody else loot it before we get back, because there's stuff in there we need for the campaign. You see the dilemma there. Anyway, we'll see what we can do. Next session, hopefully I can give you all a recap of which decision we made. Do we take the dragon egg with us? Do we go into that dungeon and hopefully it doesn't get looted? I don't know. Anyway, Damn Kurt, out.